next chapter of this season takes us over to Montreal for round number 4 at the Canadian Grand Prix. There's a few things that we need to talk about. So first of all, George Russell has come to the aid of Esteban Ocon in his fight against Mercedes-Benz. Now, of course, a couple of years ago, George Russell was in the very same scenario whereby he thought that he was meant to be the next in line to drive for a Mercedes team. And obviously, Mercedes decided to go against that and they brought in Pascal Wehrlein, and of course, who is George Russell's teammate at the moment. And then, of course, from that moment onwards, Russell was then sacked from the driver program after calling them out. And obviously, after all the fuss that he's gone through with the Mercedes program, he now feels sympathy for Esteban Ocon and feels like Mercedes were treating him unfairly and they need to issue a full public apology regarding this. Now, sources over in France are claiming that Daniel Ricciardo is unhappy with his treatment at Renault and wants to leave. Now, this source is definitely being taken with a pinch of salt by everyone in the paddock at the moment, as we're only 3 rounds into the Formula 1 season, and despite the fact that Renault have had a difficult start to the year, Daniel Ricciardo still looks as happy as ever in the paddock, so we'll still take this with a pinch of salt, but this could potentially be true, but this is what French sources are telling us at the moment. Now, we have found a complete and utter carnage and chaos down at Ferrari as Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas had to separate both the Ferrari drivers of Hülkenberg and Rosberg after an altercation happened just after the press conference. We have no details as of yet onto why they actually had the altercation in the first place, but what we can confirm is cameras were spotted and video footage was shown of Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas getting in the way of both Hülkenberg and Rosberg as their extremely tense rivalry between themselves gets even hotter, and Ferrari, I'm sure, will have to take action on this as they can't afford to have this form of racing drivers in their team. They can't afford to have 2 people that just hate each other. And then finally, Charles Leclerc also could be on his way out of Porsche. Yet again, more sources are stating that Charles Leclerc could be on his way out of Porsche at the moment, as the same sources applying with Daniel Ricciardo. This tends to be the time of the season where you automatically get a feeling of what drivers realise that this transfer wasn't for them and are already thinking about the next transfer window. But yeah, we can't take anything for granted. Charles Leclerc is doing a great job so far for Porsche, but maybe he wants bigger and better things. Who knows? But we'll find out very soon. But for now, let's get a look at the news and see who is looking on form heading into the Canadian Grand Prix. Looking ahead to the Canadian Grand Prix, and so far things are looking good for both McLaren and also for Tom. We'll start off with Tom then. So he's looking very, very quick here around Canada as he aims for redemption at this circuit. Now, if you cast your minds back to the previous Grand Prix when Tom was driving for Ferrari, this was in effect Tom's final race for Ferrari last year. Tom was leading the Grand Prix by a whopping 30 seconds before a mistake in the final chicane over at the Wall of Champions. He made a mistake and got the curbs all wrong. The back end slipped out on the exit of the chicane and he crashed into the wall and was out of the Grand Prix. That's when Ferrari triggered to terminate his contract, which then put him over to Mercedes. But of course, we realised that it was Ferrari management into team that was all messed up, but we'll go past that point. So yeah, Tom has got a lot of history with this race circuit, and it seems like he's back to get redemption. So far, so good. Speaking of McLaren, as we stated earlier, they're confident, however, that they can spoil Tom's happiness. Of course, all of the talk has been around Tom after what happened in the Canadian Grand Prix last year and how he is looking back on fire here at Canada. But don't count out McLaren because they've got the better power unit compared to Mercedes and they are looking deadly, especially in that middle sector. Ferrari are also really confused about their poor lap times in Canada. Now, we're not sure if there is a bluff going on here or not, but Ferrari looked incredibly quick on the qualifying simulation runs, but in the race pace was another story. Overall though, Ferrari say despite their pace in the short runs, they do believe that they were running higher engine modes to other teams and they are not to take what they saw for granted. But overall, yeah, Ferrari just not quite sure where their pace is. But with that being said, let's get into qualifying and the race for the Canadian Grand Prix. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is FoxyDude98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. So we are here for round number 4 of the Canadian Grand Prix, and as you can see, we're going to kick things off with qualifying, and I was feeling really, really confident here around Canada. Canada is normally a track in whereby the AIs are not that particularly fast. You can certainly take some time out of them, especially pretty much all your time comes from the final chicane because the AIs take it really slowly, whereas if you go maximum attack and also stick close to the right-hand side as you make your run towards the final corner, you can gain up to like 6-7 tenths of a second. It's ridiculous. So we were looking to take that into advantage, and like you can see here, look, sticking towards the right, and I was half a second down on that lap, but you can see that I was already the fastest man in the final sector. So that kind of proved my point a little bit there, that we did have some pace. Overall, I was really struggling in the middle sector on my runs. I wasn't quite able to match the AIs. In the first sector, I was about a tenth or two up. In the middle sector, I was a good 7-8 tenths down, and then I had to try and find that extra bit of time in the final sector. But as you can see, coming through the chicane now, getting close to the world champions, bit of a screen freeze there, which put me off slightly. Probably lost me about a tenth or so, just because of the way that I had to take my line. But this time around, you can see we're only a tenth down now on the fastest lap so far. So picking up some pace there as I make a mistake there and just go a bit wide. But obviously I was on my in lap, so it's fine. And then finally, as you can see, this is my final attempt now in qualifying, so I give it everything through the final corner now. Don't get the screen freeze like I did last time around, but it turns out it didn't actually really cost me that much time. I tried to improve, and I think I might have done, but no, I didn't. Look, I did not improve. I failed to qualify any higher, but Nico Rosberg and Nico Hülkenberg, the two Ferraris, have come out of nowhere and have managed to grab pole position and third place on the grid. A massive shock there. It was a fight between myself and Sam for pole position. All of a sudden, the Ferraris have just come completely out of nowhere and have snatched the front row of the grid pretty much there and got pole position. So that's a stellar job by them. And Reese there be disappointed to qualify in 11th place, albeit only half a second off. So that just shows how close the grid was today. But yeah, that's a bit of a shock there. So as we go into the race, then as you can see, we're going to be doing the two-stop strategy, starting on the Hypersofts and going to two sets of ultra soft tyres. Now, for this race, I decided to see a slightly different strategy. Now, Canada is also sometimes quite decent with fuel, so I decided to actually underfuel the car for the start of the race and try and run light, run aggressive, because these Hypersofts are going to wear off fast. The less fuel that I have in it, the longer they should be able to last for. But it is lights out where we go here to start the Chinese Grand Prix. Good start from us initially, but the secondary phase is not as good as what George Russell got, and we go completely AWOL there in towards the first corner. We've lost out to Russell, make a slight bit of contact on the rear of his car there, but unfortunately, not the best start actually, in all fairness, in terms of the secondary phase and the braking point into turn one there. Pascal Wehrlein did try and have a look at us there, but we completely shut the door on Wehrlein as Lando Norris now gets in front as Rosberg leads the Grand Prix. Sam stays in second place, and then Hülkenberg is in third, but obviously Pascal Wehrlein right behind him in fourth. We've lost a little bit of time here compared to the rest. I mean, not Pascal Wehrlein, George Russell in P4. We've lost a little bit of time, though, to the top four, so we're going to have to try and gain that back now as we fly through the middle sector here. This is my weakest point on the track. Lando Norris behind, who I need to be careful of, because in that McLaren, he will absolutely breeze past me if he gets a good run on myself. So into the hairpin now, you can see that we're just sort of managing where we are, trying to get settled in initially. As you can see that there's the Ferrari up front with Sam chasing him down, and obviously Sam with the faster McLaren power unit, I can't get my words out properly, is now on the back of Rosberg. Can he have a look into the chicane? No, too far back, but you can already see how he's already much closer to the back of the Ferrari, and you can see that we managed to gain all the time back on George Russell and Hülkenberg behind as we complete the first lap now. Sam has a look at Rosberg in towards turn one. No, he's not going to have a look there, too far back, but you can see that he is very much right behind him, and it's only going to be a matter of time before he tries to have a look. On to lap 3 of the Grand Prix now, and you can see Hülkenberg locks up. Russell gets flustered a little bit by that, and as you can see, we now go around the outside of George Russell, but it's not the best run actually from ourselves, and we go side by side now with Norris, who comes out of nowhere. He tries to have a little look here, but we're going to go towards the inside line here, have a look under the brakes, get past George Russell, try and find our way past Hülkenberg, but we can't find our way past Nico on this race. Just Sam there, you just saw in the front there, Sam has just taken the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. You can see that he's now managed to pass Rosberg on the exit of the hairpin. There he goes up into the lead. We've now got DRS and Hülkenberg, and we've made the place up now on the Ferrari driver, and that's us up into third place now, and we can try and set our sights on Nico Rosberg and see if we can keep pace with Sam up front as Norris now tries to come back at Hülkenberg. So Nico, all the while here, just dropping down the order. He now has to try and fight Norris in towards turn 2. Lando sticks it though on the Ferrari driver and gets the overtake done, and that has dropped Hülkenberg down yet another position in this Grand Grand Prix. And as you can see further on, you can see we're now closing up to the back of the other Ferrari car. But Hulkenberg now tries to have another look on Lando Norris. He hasn't given up the fight just yet on the McLaren driver. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the McLaren guy. He's got a lot of work to do. But unfortunately, Russell now is trying to have a look at Hulkenberg. So Nico now has to try and get this move done. He goes towards the inside of turn 1 and then towards turn 2. But it's going to be the same thing as normal, as Lando is going to shut the door there and not allow Hulkenberg through. But with 3 DRS zones, it's very hard to find your way out of the slipstream. Meanwhile, back on board with us here, lap 5 of the Grand Prix, pace is very, very strong. I'm liking the car so far. The fuel load is probably helping a little bit, although we will have to say that later on. But we're now on the back of Nico Rosberg here for second place, and Sam hasn't actually pulled that far ahead. So this is definitely a confidence boost for myself here. If we can pass Rosberg, we can try and catch Sam. But as you can see now, we've got the DRS open here in the car, and now we're going to go over to the inside line. But we actually breezed past the Ferrari there. It wasn't even a contest in a straight line. And obviously, my Mercedes car is one of the worst power unit powered cars this season. Of course, Mercedes has a very weak power unit compared to the likes of the Ferraris, the McLarens, the Audis. It pretty much is on par with Red Bull. And obviously, Red Bull, like ourselves, have got an incredibly well-made car for the downforce section. Speaking of Red Bull, meanwhile, Hulkenberg now is really under pressure. You can see here, he's holding up George Russell, and that's allowed Lando Norris to just get away into the distance now. And you can see the queue of cars that are trying to pass him now, as Russell goes to the outside this time of the hairpin. And as you can see now, around the outside goes Russell. This should be an easy overtake. He should just shut the door there. He just forces Hulkenberg onto the grass there. So getting the elbows out a little bit, George Russell, and he's got the DRS now. And there's someone else that's coming in for a little bit of an attack here. It's one of the Audi cars. I think that's Vettel as they blast their way now down in towards the chicane. This is going to be very, very close between all of the drivers. Hulkenberg loses out to the Red Bull of Russell, and that was Lewis Hamilton that made it 3 wide there in the mixture. And now, as you can see here comes Pascal Wehrlein to attack the Ferrari driver. It's all going horribly wrong so far for the Ferrari man, as he's just going backwards and backwards and backwards, and he is not getting any further up the field, as Hamilton now fights his way past Pascal Wehrlein. Of course, Pascal did get past Lewis Hamilton, but Hamilton has managed to get back past again, as there goes Reese on the inside of Esteban Ocon. So there's another little train that's being formed there. So Reese now passes the Red Bull. Meanwhile, not the Renault. But meanwhile, speaking of the Red Bull, Pascal Wehrlein is now under pressure. So he was attacking Nico Hulkenberg in the Ferrari, but now he's dropped into the clutches here of the Porsche Max Verstappen, and Max now goes to the outside of turn 1 here, and he's going to make this move stick. He'll go to the inside line, and then he'll chop off Pascal on the exit of turn 2, and he does just that there, and good move there from Verstappen, but bad news there for Pascal Wehrlein, who drops further down the order. And speaking of dropping further down the order, Reese has now caught up to Pascal Wehrlein. So my teammate Reese, who you can see is on the ultra soft tyres, so he obviously started in P11, was the first man to get choice of what tyres he wanted to start on. He's on ultra soft tyres, and as they're going towards the hairpin now of this track, you can see Max getting a little bit of an advantage there. Reese locks up slightly into the hairpin now, but as you can see, it's not going to work for him though. Normally you can get that run on the outside, but it's not worked this time around there, as Wehrlein goes a little bit off circuit. But this time now, Reese should have the better run on Pascal Wehrlein. Both of them will have DRS. They've got to be careful of that Renault car that's behind them of Ocon. He might just snip it up to the inside, but he doesn't do that. Reese now eventually, is he going to pass Pascal Wehrlein into the chicane? I think he is going to do so. Yes, he's pretty much got that one set, but we've got to be careful because Vettel there, right behind, might just want to try and snatch this one. He has a look at the inside, Vettel then. He wanted to go for it, fair play to him, but he's not going to make that one stick as he now goes towards the outside on Pascal Wehrlein. No, he won't make it stick, but Reese gets in front of Pascal as we see a lot of drivers coming out of the pits, and one of those guys that was coming out of the pits was me on lap 9 of the Grand Prix. So now we're out of the pits here. We were still behind Sam, and some contact there between myself and Bottas. Now more contact there, a little bit of tyre barging, but we can't go faulting that. But me and Sam have both pitted for a fresh set of ultras. That's Sam there as we go down the inside of Sainz, pretty much just completely obliterating our way past him. But me and Sam have now rejoined in a massive traffic jam in which these guys were on. So it was just me and Sam out front, all on our own, and now we've come into the traffic that has basically been building over time. But now we're trying to close up onto the back of the McLaren car here. It's not putting the good run. Sam goes to the run now on the Jaguar of Pierre Gasly, I think it is. We're now going to go down the inside of Gasly into the hairpin, do the same thing, but not only that, we've got Sam as well in the process. So a brilliant overtake there, but it's not over yet, because now we've got to try and get past the Jaguar, and with the power unit of that Jaguar car being better than mine, we've now got some work to do, because we've got to defend against Sam here, who's coming back at us down towards the chicane here. It's going to be very close. We're going to have the inside line though, and with our braking points that we can use, we just about stay in front of the McLaren car. Now I've got to get past this Jaguar very quickly and build myself an advantage, because that McLaren was very, very fast in the first stint, and I've got no doubt it'll be quicker to get in the middle stint as we try the inside line, lose out to the Jaguar car. He shoves me off the track there, and now Sam tries to come back at me now. In towards turn 4 we go. Sam now stays with it as they go in towards the corner now. Will we stay in front of Sam? Yes, we do. Just about hold the position there to Sam, and we do confirm ourselves as the net race leader for this Grand Prix, but I need to pass the Jaguar of Pierre Gasly. It was. I didn't realise which Jaguar car it was there. You can see already struggling a little bit with the dirty air effect coming my way there. But yeah, I tried to go down the inside of turn 1. It didn't really work off, and then the back end sort of just, I lost the back end slightly into turn 2, and then obviously I had to correct that, and Sam had a run on myself. But we now need to get back onto the back of the Jaguar car and try and nab some slipstream or something, because Sam, as you can see, is very, very close, and I'd rather he wasn't that close. But he is. But more importantly, we have now jumped Sam in the traffic, which is amazing. And now we need to try and push onwards here. And as you can see the fuel load there downward, minus 0.7 on fuel. So at some point, we are going to have to start saving some of that. And as you can see, I'm just dipping into the ERS at the moment, not really dipping into the fuel load, because I don't really want to start constantly burning it at the moment, because I know that at some point, we're going to have to start saving it. And the more that I keep burning, the more that I'm going to have to keep saving at some point. So I need to try and take advantage while we can, as this time now, we go down the inside of Pierre Gasly, and this time it works as we nearly hit the back of Daniel Ricciardo there, but that time around we got past Pierre Gasly in towards turn 1, just a little bit closer, a little bit more braver on the brakes this time around. I sort of just decided to just go full send it, whereas on the first attempt I didn't really have that full send momentum. Speaking of full sending it, we're going to full send it up the inside of Ricciardo as well in the Renault, a little bit of a back end slide there, but now we're trying to make some good progress. Obviously, with me having the momentum of overtaking Pierre Gasly, now I want to have that momentum to build a gap ahead of Sam. Speaking of Sam though, he's decided that he doesn't want me to build a gap and has just absolutely demolished his way past Gasly and past Daniel Ricciardo. So yeah, Sam with the slipstream there, with the extremely powerful McLaren power unit, has just breezed past all of them, and now the advantage that I had in terms of a 2-car differential status is now gone. So now, as you can see here, we're on the back of Esteban Ocon, and obviously there's been a lot of tension off the track between myself and Ocon, so I'm going to dip into the rich fuel mixture and all my reserves, because I'm going to go get past Ocon now as I have a look in the chicane here. Not going to work there though, just too far back from Esteban this time around, but good run at the exit of the last corner. But Esteban does get a very nice exit, DRS and slipstream against Charles Leclerc as well. In towards turn 1, we got much better on the brakes there, but for some reason Ocon decided to brake very early there. But this time around now, very good run out of the exit of turn 2. This could be an opportunity for us now as we have a look here. Will we go late on the brakes down the inside of Ocon? Yes, we will. Thank you very much, Esteban. Get out of my way. And yeah, that is us now up into second place. Charles next up on the road now, as we are literally pushing very hard now, because I need to build that gap between myself and Sam. I cannot let him get into DRS range. If he gets in DRS range, it could be a very, very long afternoon, as we now try and have a look at Charles Leclerc. Not going to work through there, unfortunately. Charles too far in front for me to make any sort of inroads. But on the run up towards the hairpin now, we've got a great run on Charles here, and this time now we go towards the inside line, make the move down the inside, very clean overtake down the inside of Charles into the hairpin, and we just shove him wide a little bit there, which sort of compromises his exit, and that just gives us the opportunity to just pull away now. But obviously there is Sam in the background, and he is still making some very good progress through this traffic, just like I am. As you can see now, Ocon has got DRS. Sam now goes towards the outside. This might just lose them some time here, because as you can see now, Sam goes for the overtake, he makes it stick, but he just loses a little bit of time there in that conundrum, and we can carry on. Onto lap 15 of the Grand Prix, you can see that we're saving fuel and managing the gap between myself and Sam. Speaking of my teammate, meanwhile, that's Reese up ahead there. He now drops himself into the pits, but he's on the one-stop strategy. Now, this is critical. I didn't overtake Reese during that stint, which means if Reese can have some clean air and make sure that he sets in some good lap times, it might just be that my race is not actually with Sam, but with my teammate Reese. This is very fascinating stuff now. As we go on to lap 21 of the Grand Prix, you can see that we're now coming in for what is going to be our second and final pit stop of the Grand Prix, and I believe Sam is going to follow me suit into the pits. The gap between myself and Sam is just stuck. It's literally between 2-3 seconds. It's not budging that much at all between the pair of us. And as we now have a look here, has Reese managed to get the jump though? This is going to be the critical phase of the Grand Prix. In that time period, from lap 15 to lap 21, Did Reese do enough to get in front of us and stay there? As we come out of the pits now, accelerating away here. Where is Reese on the minimap? Reese now is in third at the moment, and no, he's staying. Is he third? Has he jumped in front of Sam? No. So he stays in third. So Reese there, he's actually lost 6 seconds worth of performance, and let's go find out why. So first of all, Lando Norris here with a massive lockup, which cost him a lot of time. And this is where Reese got involved then. So Reese now, after the lockup from Lando Norris, was all over the back of the McLaren driver. Now Reese here tries to have a look in towards the first corner. Doesn't pay off for him on that occasion. But now he's on the back of Lando and can start to fight him. Reese now with the DRS here is going to have a great run on Lando Norris. Slipstream, DRS, it depends on what engine modes he's got available to himself. He could try and use that to his disposal. As they now go down in towards the chicane here, Reese then tries to have a look at Lando Norris, but actually he's not that far enough, not close enough, sorry, to get through. But you can see that Lando sort of compromises his line into the chicane, and he is well, not really purposely, because he was defending his line, is what the AIs do, slowing Reese down into the chicane. And this is all, as you can see here. Here's another attack now from Reese. He tries to go towards the outside line this time on Norris. So as you can see here, tries to make it stick. Does a good job there. A little bit of contact from the two drivers there as they try and fight very hard here. Reese on fresh super soft tyres, but of course that McLaren is just so nippy in a straight line. It's just so much difficult for the AIs to pass because of this. And as you can see, Reese, look, he gets the better exit, shoves Norris nice and wide onto the grass like we've seen all race long, but then it's just so simple. It's just he now has the DRS, and look at that, absolutely flies past Reese. And this is what has compromised Reese, and pretty much what stopped him from being in the fight between myself and Sam. So Reese there, compromised by Lando Norris, but as you can see, he did his best to try and pass him, but eventually I think Lando Norris actually pitted, and then that released Reese off into some clean air. But you can see there that the two of them tried to fight. Reese did come back again though at Lando Norris, and he seemed to prefer this spot here, this extra DRS zone. Goes towards the outside line again this time bumps Lando Norris out of the way. Lando this time has now fully succumbed to the position against Reese, but now with the slipstream and the power unit on Lando Norris's car, he now goes towards the outside line of the hairpin here. Reese now goes towards the inside to defend that position, and he gets the move done there ahead of Lando Norris. But once again, you kind of know the drill at this point. It's going to be slipstream, a DRS, and not even slipstream to be honest, just DRS and power unit, put your foot flat to the floor, and that McLaren will send you to places you never thought you'd ever go to. And there it is, Reese then drops himself now down another position. Meanwhile, for us then, on to lap 35 and the final lap of the Grand Prix, it was a very calm and controlled race. You can see the gap to myself and Sam has dropped to 1.1 seconds. In this final stint, Sam was definitely much quicker than me. He was able to close the gap. I wasn't really eligible to pull away from him. I sort of just managed my car, really. As soon as I got past Sam, in the middle stint was the most critical stint for me overall, as I cannot stop hiccuping. But we now come across the final chicane here, and that is going to be our first race win of this season at the Canadian Grand Prix. Redemption for us after what happened the last time we were in Canada. A massive screen freezes as I try and take the checkered flag. But like I said, the middle stint was the key stint. That's when we saved all of our fuel. And then in the final stint, when Sam came at us, we could have something if we needed to. But as you can see, it is myself ahead of Sam. Reese claims a sensational P3 with Charles Leclerc in P4. Lando Norris fifth ahead of George Russell, Vettel, Ocon, Hamilton and Rosberg, rounding out the top 10 there overall. But yeah, anyway, that is it. Let's go and have a look now at the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship after this race. Having a look at the Drivers' Championship then after this Canadian Grand Prix, I have now taken the lead of the World Championship with 68 points after my first race win of the season. Pascal Wehrlein stays in second in the championship after scoring no points today. So unfortunately for Pascal Wehrlein, wasn't a very good race. Obviously, this is the first time that Pascal has not scored points this season, which is a disappointment for him. Sam, meanwhile, is in third in the championship with 43 points, which is a little bit of a shock considering that in the 4 races, he's only scored points in 2 of them, but he still remains third in the championship. Reese has moved up to 4th in the championship now with 39 points, very close to Sam now in that battle, which is quite interesting. Tied on points with Sebastian Vettel, but Reese has had more podiums than Sebastian this year. Lewis Hamilton on 35 points, drops off a little bit from Vettel, but he's still in that fight with himself, Vettel and Reese, and potentially even Sam at the moment. And Charles Leclerc not too far behind, 28 points for him, who is doing a stellar job for Porsche this season. Nico Hülkenberg fails to score points, and he stays on 22 points, tied with Lando Norris, who is also having a disappointing start to the season in that McLaren. And then Pierre Gasly just about keeps himself in the top 10 of the championship for Jaguar with 12 points. So let's go and have a look now at the Constructors' Championship. Having a look then at the Constructors' Championship after this Grand Prix, Mercedes-Benz lead the way with 107 points, 33 clear of Audi on 74 points. It's been a near perfect weekend for Mercedes, be it missing out on P2 with Reese, but he still managed to secure third overall. Aston Martin, Red Bull and McLaren stay, or tied on points actually, with 65 each, and it's quite clear to see that the top four in the Constructors' Championship are all going to be going at it to try and finish as high as possible in that championship standings. Porsche have leapfrogged Ferrari now after Ferrari's awful display starting on pole position and P3 if I'm correct in saying, and failed to capitalise on that, scoring only 2 points from Nico Rosberg, leaving them on 24 points and now trailing Porsche by 11 points. Jaguar meanwhile failed to capitalise on Ferrari's dismal display and they stay on 18 points after failing to score, and that is the same with Lamborghini. Renault meanwhile finally got off the mark this season and they've got their first points of the year, scoring 2 points, and BMW are the only team that have yet to score. But that is the championship standings done and dusted for round 4 at Canada. Let's have a look at the race, the post-race notebook, and let's see what the teams have had to say after this Canadian Grand Prix. Having a look then at the post-race notebook of everything that happened after a crazy Canadian Grand Prix. First of all, Tom is over the moon to get redemption here at Canada. Of course, 12 months ago is where it all went wrong for Tom in his career, but he's come back to Canada and he has finally got what he says that he deserves, which is the race win here at Montreal. Great result for him, great result for Mercedes. That's their first win of this season and he's hoping to take that victory and grab many more. Sam believes that the traffic after his first pit stop cost him victory at the Canadian Grand Prix. Sam was leading the Grand Prix until he had to make his first pit stop when he rejoined in traffic. He got stuck behind it at the wrong places at the wrong time, and Tom was eligible to carve his way through the traffic a lot easier than what Sam could. Overall, in terms of the race, Sam said that the pace was much quicker, and he believes that Tom wouldn't have been able to keep up with him if he stayed in front. And the stats don't lie about that. Obviously, Tom did manage to build a 4-second advantage by the time that the traffic had cleared, and obviously at the end of the race, that gap dropped to just 1.1 seconds. So in theory, Sam was overall slightly quicker, but we'll never know. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. And finally, Ferrari are absolutely shocked by their race pace, admitting that they've just lost it this season. Ferrari, of course, starting on pole position for the Grand Prix, and they only just about scored a point in the race. It was an awful performance from Ferrari, and they said that they have got a lot of work to do if they are to get anything out of this year. But anyway, guys, that has been it for this Canadian Grand Prix. If you guys have enjoyed the video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe if you've not yet subscribed to the channel already, if you enjoy the content you see here on my channel. And until then, guys, we will see you for the next episode very soon. But thank you very much for watching. Take care all. Peace.